mass production. You might have heard him as the father of the assembly line. Henry Ford. Oh. I didn't even prep him for that. Henry Ford came up with the idea of mass production via the assembly line. Henry, before there was any such thing as an assembly line, had to envision and implement it. He had to come up with the idea and invent bazillions of things to make it happen. He had an end goal in mind. He knew that at the end of this production line, there had to be a Model T. He knew that much. Now, how do I get there, was his question. And how do I get there more efficiency than my ex-partner, Frederick Oldsmobile? I got to outsell him. How do I do this? He knew he had to have a Model T at the end faster and cheaper than Olds could. So he had to figure out how each piece of the truck would be assembled at each step along the way, in what sequence they would be assembled until the end of the assembly line came, and here's a Model T. He had to figure that out. So he had to see the end result from the beginning, before he started. Him, being the designer and the inventor, had to decide how every step would take, and he could come back and revisit, realign, add, subtract, do what he had to do to make it move more efficiently, smoother, and cheaper. Even after the assembly line was up in operation, pumping out Model Ts, Henry could walk in, hit the red button, and say, stop. I want to move the lug nut line over to here. He could do that. He's the boss. He invented it. He designed it. He knew how it operated. He could fix it. He had the ability, the right to do it. He had the ability and the right to reorganize, make changes as he saw fit to get the end result he envisioned. John 1 through 3. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning, and all things came through him. Without him, nothing has been made. Who's the him? Jesus, right? From the very start, Jesus was there. It was the master plan from the very start to have a family. The concept of creation, the universe, and everything in it was created for the purpose of bringing us into existence. To ensure that we get to spend eternity with the Father. We're going to speak more of eternity next week, but God is sovereign. There is no higher power. He's the designer and creator. Okay? If he chooses to step in to make alterations to the lives of his creation, he has the right to do that. We are his creation, and if he sees fit to make any kind of alterations into our life plan to ensure that the finished product that he has envisioned for our individual lives, he has the right to do so. Amen. And it's our job as children to bow our knee to his sovereignty and to bow our knee to his right and his will. God has made quite a few alterations to my life. When I was a young child and a teenager and a young adult, I had life plans, goals. Some of them were stupid. And I'm going to share one of those today. Maybe this will give you a little insight as to the way I am. When I was a child, I hated reading. If you told me to read something, there's no way I was going to do it. If you left me alone, I'd probably end up reading it because I kind of liked it. I didn't want you to know that, though. But when I was, our living room was kind of small, and we didn't have room for the big bookshelf. My room was next to the living room. So that's where the bookshelf went. And me, when I was being a little delinquent and got sent to my room, grounded, whatever, I had the bookshelf. Now, this was pre-internet, just so you guys know. I want to make that qualification, okay? Pre-internet. So we had what most households had, an Encyclopedia Britannica. Right. You know, the 15, 20 books? Oh, yeah, big. Yeah. Some were skinny, some were big fat ones. There were about 15, I don't know, 20 of those. I'm not sure how many they were. One time, I don't remember how old I was, but I'm guessing I was about 7 or 8. I was out being a delinquent. I was sent to my room. And I discovered my life plan. I discovered my calling in that Encyclopedia Britannica. Pre-internet. Keep that in mind. I found out there are people who get paid to go out in a boat and kill whales. Whoa, what? They get paid to do this? I'm from Minnesota. We did a lot of ice fish. I love to ice fish. But the concept of getting out there, stabbing an 80-foot fish, hauling that thing on board, butchering it, drilling a hole in its skull and getting the oil out, that was epic. That's my life plan. Haul the blubber aboard, render that a little bit, throw what you don't want back in the water. That was me. And I didn't tell anybody that. That was my secret little life plan. That was what I was going to do. I was going to be a whaler man. I held on to that until I was about 15. Still pre-internet. I didn't tell nobody. Now I was in California with my dad at the ocean. And I was like, our next trip, why don't we go to the Atlantic Ocean? I want to see the ports where they're bringing the whales in. What are you talking about? And I explained, whaling man, they go out, they kill the boats, they kill the big boats, they kill the whales, harvest the blubber, drill holes in their skulls, and take the oil out and burn it for lamp oil. The old man said they haven't done that since the 1800s. I was like, couldn't Google it, didn't know better. I'm like, how old are those books? I mean, come on. There's a little insight on me there. I was crushed about 1860. They stopped hauling whales into America's coast, just so you know. When I started at the prison, it was going to be a winter job. I started out there. I was going to work over the winter, save some money, and I was out of Wyoming. I was going to haul my butt up to Alaska, work a little bit longer. I was going to sell my truck and head over into Russia. I wanted to travel all around through the Europe, Orient, Mediterranean coast. I knew that life expectancy wasn't going to be too good. But it was going to be a fun ride while it lasted. Well, 23 years, 5 months, 19 days later, that didn't happen. God made adjustments to my life, and I don't regret a single one of them. God made adjustments and sometimes flat-out revisions. You're not going to be a whaling man. I'm sorry. I look back over my life. I see his hand at work in my life. I see how he added people, removed people. I see how he added things, removed things. He added people like my wonderful wife and children. Don't regret any of that. Carry that right now. He's shown himself mighty in my life. He has. Sometimes you don't see that while you're in it. You can look back. We all have hindsight. We can remember back what things have changed and see what the benefit of that has been, or the consequences in some cases. We can do that. God is sovereign. He has the ability and the right to make adjustments, additions, and subtractions to his creation, and that is us. As a born-again Christian, it's our responsibility to accept that, to come into alignment with his will and desire for our lives. Sometimes those adjustments can be painful. This is the same principle as the vine dresser pruning his branches to bear more fruit. Exact same principle happening here. We need to be more like the vine. Ouch, that hurt. Move on. Acknowledge, yes, that hurt.
Absolutely.
That was so I could grow more fruit, better fruit, higher quality fruit, so I can fit into his model that he envisioned for me at the start.
Amen.
Henry Ford had a vision, and he had to go back and make it happen. The Lord had a vision at creation, and he has the right to make adjustments to us. And for me, it's quite often, because I kind of wander, I think. I get a little off track down again. But I don't grieve for those things that have been moved in my life. I don't grieve for them because I know there's a purpose to it.
Right.
It hurt for a minute, but it's over. And now I'm bearing more fruit. We need to be a vine. That's what we need to be. Accept that pruning. Move on. We don't linger in pain and despair. We acknowledge it hurt. We acknowledge it was gone. But it was for the benefit that we're fitting into his master plan. We are becoming what he wants us to become. John 1:3, all things have came to be through him. All is all. Everything in the universe. That's physical and non-physical. That's tangible and non-tangible. He has the right to make any adjustment that he sees fit. And it's our job today to say, Lord, we accept. We bow that knee to your sovereignty. We bow our knee to what you have asked for us.